and welcome to Rolling with Reviews. I'm Will, and with me as always is the Grease Monkey manager herself,
Sarah.
And today we're doing a review of Motor City. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right, Motor City is a strategic roll and write game about running an auto plant in the heyday of Detroit. Each player has 2 sheets that contain the various departments that they will work in, including testing, production, engineering, and sales. What you gain from one department will often help you in another department. After 8 rounds, each player tallies up their score, and whoever has the most points wins. So, Will, why did we get this?
So we're fans of the Crunchy Roll and Write, and two of the designers that are involved in this did Fleet the Dice game as well as
Three Sisters.
So we wanted the next installment of the loaded Roll and Write.
Yep, that's pretty much it. All right, so what do we like about the game?
We like which was first? The cool?
We like that the same, doesn't really matter what order, but same complexity. Like,
yes.
It's very much one of the loaded roll and writes, and its complexity is different.
Right.
But it's the equivalent, so it all feels good to be in that, what am I trying to find?
The
set.
weight.
Yes, the weight.
The weight of the game is where we want it, and it's not the same game as what came out before.
Now, you like some of the neat mechanics.
Yes, the mechanics are very interesting. So when you set up your round, you'll roll a number of dice based on the number of player counts, and they'll come in 3 colors. Now, the colors help mix and match the bonus actions you get.
Yes.
Which is really clever. Because let's say a gray die rolls one symbol and a white die rolls the same symbol, you put them on the board, the bonuses are completely different because the colors are different.
So it's going to encourage people to choose differently, and or if they're pursuing different strategies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to do when it comes time for your turn. So you'll pick a die, you'll get the bonus based on the color of the die. You'll get the next step is a choice between 3 things. You'll take the action, which is what the face of the die is. You'll upgrade that action if you have the money, or you'll put it into research, which if you go up high enough, you'll unlock some interesting bonus.
Yep.
Then you have to place the die on your sheets, and the auditor can block one of them, as well as previously placed dice can block. But between the remaining ones, you'll always have an option between 2 and 4 options to essentially do an action of your choice.
Yep. And so it's a really interesting multi-step action where it front loads a lot of your decision-making process right then and there.
And feels very robust.
And it feels, very robust. Whereas Fleet and Three Sisters kind of spread things out a bit more over the course of your turn and things like that.
Yeah, with those games, it's more pick a die, and with Three Sisters, is you also get a little action, but you just follow those, and it's less of a multi-option path when choosing your action.
Yep. It's fairly easy to play once you learn the rules.
Yes. Pretty much I explain how the game plays because the action they take a lot of time trying to explain how the various actions are. But once you start taking those actions and getting those bonuses, it's finding the right track, filling in the next spot.
Yeah.
And seeing if any bonuses pop from it.
Yep. So now what we don't like about the game, and that would be the rules that come in the box, are not the clearest. And so it made learning the game very difficult. Now, before we go on too much, they are working on a updated, revised rulebook that will hopefully be clearer, have more, can't find what I'm looking for. Diagrams and things. So go to Board Game Geek, type in Motor City, go to the file section and see if there's a revised rulebook that might be clearer than the one that is included.
Yeah, generally the issues with the rulebook are the fact that context was lacking in a lot of areas.
Yes.
Where they mention something and keep going and you're like, wait, what is that? And they don't get to it for a while. Or they'll mention something and there's no reference to, well, where is that anywhere on the board.
Right.
Type
And
of thing.
I also had challenges where sometimes they'd use the icon and sometimes they used the word, but
they didn't connect them
they
together
didn't
at the same
connect
time.
them. So like the speedometer, they used that icon first and it looks like a star in a gauge. So it was just used by itself. So I was like, the star gauge, I guess. And then later on, it uses the text speedometer. And then I'm like,
What's a speedometer?
oh. Well, yeah, it took a moment. I was like, wait, what's the speedometer? And I'm like, is that the star gauge? So, so it's little
How fast
things-
are you going? I'm going star speed.
So unfortunately, there were a lot of hurdles to overcome with the existing rules that are there, just because it lacks specificity and consistency in some of the key learning concepts, and they never went over each of the sheets in detail. So when you're starting to read the rules, you have absolutely no context where anything is on any of the sheets, especially when the first thing you do during setup is choose a test car and an engineer, and you're like, what?
Yeah. I know we read someone where it's like, it's time to place your die on your sheet. And they're like, what
Yeah.
am I doing? And it took that person a while before they realized, oh, they're talking on the sheets that I write. This area that has that's where they didn't say that, but,
Yeah. So
or they did say that, but
It didn't click.
Yeah, it didn't click.
And again, it's because they were lacking of specificity, diagrams, clarity, those type of things.
Yeah.
Some of the things then through the gameplay is you can't get all the certifications or all the engineers, and it's not stated in the rules, and that's kind of critical. Not so much the certifications.
Yeah, but it plays into the type of strategy that
Yeah.
you're going to go for. You like, oh, well, if I go for that, is usually an engineering hub, will get you points for doing certain things. And if I'm aiming for a number of them, I don't realize right out of the gate that I can't.
Right.
So that was a little troubling.
Right. And then this kind of leads into another issue we had is there's a lot of negative restrictions when it comes with the crates and the tires because they're lettered. So for a specific production hub, you need crate B. Well, you have to figure out where crate B is. So that's one of the first issues is you don't know where between the testing and the engineering it is. If it's in engineering and or testing actually, and you haven't unlocked it, then you can't get it until you unlock it. But if you've unlocked all your engineers, then you can't unlock that crate because you can't get any more engineers. Or if you can ever get money, which is another issue we'll talk about in a moment, then you can't unlock more testing tracks. And you still got to move around on the testing track to get to that crate.
Right. The game has a kind of a reverse shape to it. So in a lot of these games, especially Three Sisters and the Dice, Fleet the Dice game, you'll start off small, and as you open things up, your options increase and broaden. This one is a bit different where you have a big set of options, and as you make choices, your actual paths to the best points narrow.
Yeah, because you then end up with fewer and fewer good choices on what you can go for, because you'll start noticing that, well, I could unlock that other engineering hub, but I can't get anywhere because I don't have enough actions left in the game, or other things like that of I just don't have enough time, or this is not where I need to go. You really have to stay focused if you've figured out a good strategy.
Yeah.
So the whole money part of it, you need money. If you do not develop money first, you will not win this game. And it's kind of frustrating because you need money to upgrade your departments. So in your departments at the beginning of the game, when you take that action, let's say you go to engineering, you can fill in one engineering box. But you can spend money to upgrade it. And then when you take that action, you can fill in 2 engineering boxes, and you can do that all the way up to 3. Let me tell you, the person who gets that up to 3 is going to do a whole lot better, yeah, that would be Will, than somebody who can't figure out how to get money and figured it out too late and didn't get enough money to really upgrade anything. And then you also need that to buy test cars, which is like 8 money.
Yeah.
So it's kind of odd because, again, we were so used to Fleet Dice and Three Sisters where you start off small, but then you opened up avenues to do more things. And here it's like, you've got to get money. So it's like it narrows your meaningful choices to you need money.
Yeah, I would put the upgrading actions equivalent to buying workers.
Yeah,
a lot
true.
of these games, first person to buy the most workers often has the best options because they can do more than anyone else.
And that's just it, is doing more. Again, I understand it's an efficiency engine, but that was not the most obvious at the beginning of the game, and it's still not necessarily the easiest thing to pursue. And that kind of leads me into my other thing that I had issues with, is it feels like there's a best way to play, which feels like a loss of player agency. Because, like, I keep going back to Three Sisters because that's my favorite, is if I don't want to go into honey, I don't have to touch the bee sting. I could do like the trees and the flowers or whatever. You had a lot more choices to go the path you wanted to go. And it doesn't feel like that is an option here.
Yeah. Because if you're on a testing track that has, say, crate C, then you're going to lean towards, well, let's support that action and find the hub that the C crate is needed in.
Right.
And so that starts directing you. So you start having to ignore other things because of the few choices you have made.
Yeah.
And that just compounds throughout the course of the game.
Right. So, yeah. I think that covers a lot of what we don't like about the game. But that's us. Who is this game for?
Okay, I have one perspective. You have a different perspective.
So I think there are definitely people out there, because I've seen comments of people who've absolutely loved this game. It's for people who like those efficiency engine games that have restrictions. I'm definitely not that type of player, but there are people out there that like that challenge of, okay, I have these roadblocks that I need to overcome, and or, you know, just having to go in certain directions to get to the best effect. And they thrive on that kind of adversity.
Yeah. For me, I think it's for the people who like to ride the dice. And what I mean by that are those people who, they don't mind a strategy game. It's just, it's not exciting to them to plan out every single step along the way. They rather roll the dice, see what happens, and see how best they can ride those dice to get the best outcomes.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of let's roll and see rather than plan out and meticulously plot. So that's who I think it's for.
Okay. So there you go. So let's go on to our rating.
So for our ratings, we each have 1d6 worth of ratings to give. 1 is low, 6 is high. We give a number, reason why, add them together, see what it rolled for us. Sarah, what did Motor City roll for you?
It rolled a 2. It's got a lot of potential that I want to like, but too many restrictions that I just don't feel like I have any player agency. I feel like the game is kind of playing me, in that if I take a die, like you said, if you go on a certain track, you unlock crate C. Well, if I want to capitalize on that to the best effect, I need to go unlock the hub that has crate C, which means if I'm doing that, I'm not doing other things. So I definitely felt like I wasn't making the choices that I wanted to make. I had to make the choices the game wanted me to make. And I hate to say this, I played a lot of roll and writes, and I have not ever felt this, even though I've heard this from a lot of other people. I truly felt like I was filling in a spreadsheet with this game. And I do that for a living, working with data and Excel.
So she knows what she's talking about.
I know what I'm talking about. And unfortunately, I was just so unengaged with the theme, with what the choices were, with what I was doing, that it just felt like a chore of, okay, I filled in another box and I filled in the thing that it gave me. Now it's your turn. And I hate that because I haven't felt that with any of the other roll and writes.
Yes. For me, it came out a little bit better. I gave it a 3.
Yeah.
So one of the ways I like to explore strategy roll and write games like this is let's just randomly make some choices and let's ride the dice. Let's see how it plays out for me. And that's how I do my usually initial 1 to 2 first game plays. And it worked out very well for me. The problem is, after I'm done with that, then I like exploring the game's mechanics and trying to do what I want to do. Seeing how this game is built, I don't think I'll ever be able to do that because I'm always going to be very dependent on what the dice tell me to do, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
So even though there are a lot of mechanics in here that I do like, and I did have just a decent time. I wouldn't say I had the greatest time, but I had a decent time playing the game. It's nothing I'm gonna go out of my way and look for again. I would actually go to other games because after the initial play or two, I want to play different styles, and I don't think I can with Motor City.
Yeah. This is one of those odd ones where, for those who don't know, with Will's vision disabilities, he literally doesn't look at the board. I have to read him everything that's going on. But there's so much going on that with Motor City, I didn't read him everything. Just kind of what was, like you said, associated with the dice. If you only had, sales or production as choices, I'm not going to read what's in engineering to him.
Who knew that worked out in my favor?
And that's what I was about to point out. It worked out in his favor that he couldn't see everything because he wasn't overloaded by all the choices he couldn't take.
Yeah. And everything that she could see frustrated her.
Yeah, I was pulling my hair out and I was like, I want to go here and I can't do that until I do this, but then I can't do that. And it's like, so that's where it was a bit frustrating.
So even though it's a 5 out of 12 for us, I will say those people who get intimidated by the players that are overly strategic, this actually could be a good equalizer.
That's true.
In approaching a game that both of the players might actually like.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. And Sarah, now that you've built your fancy EV car, as you mentioned, in Rolling with Two, what's your favorite little doodad or knickknack that you put in? Like how they put on things on seat belts or hang from rear view mirrors or put little antenna balls? Your car accessory.
Car accessories. I don't know. I've always been a big fan of the fuzzy steering wheel cover because steering wheels are always so, uncomfortable to hold. So I like the fuzzy steering wheel covers, especially when they're like in bright, fun colors. What about you?
I'd put mud flaps on everything. Even if it's like a lowrider car, I want to see little crazy looking little mud flaps. That'd be awesome.
I don't know about you sometimes.
I don't either. And we've been Rolling with Reviews. And remember, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two. That's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And on YouTube, please like and subscribe.
And if you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you. Because remember, he's rolling with you.